Good morning. I wanted to get on here, do a quick update. I'm trying some new technology and I'm hoping it's going to work. And so if you guys can hear this or see this, please let me know. Hope the quality's there. I'm trying a different streaming platform. And so my other one, I kind of didn't like some of the features, so I'm trying something new. And so the goal is just to get back in the swing of things. I've had some time off. I hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a good holiday, and but it's time to get back to work. And so if you guys can see this, please let me know. And what I'm trying to do is just make sure that I can do what I need to do with this platform and see if it's worth it. So let me share my stream real quick and then we'll get started. There's some things that we really need to talk about, and so part of it is just so you guys are kind of an FYI. And so here we are. And so I'm sharing that into my gun group and let's get started. Let's start talking about some things. And so some of the things that we have going is we have the upcoming Oregon legislature session, and it's going to be a short session. And so that's something that I think we have to start paying attention, and it's getting closer. So there's going to be some legislative days starting next week. So they're going January 13th to the 15th. And so that's where you can go into the building, you can meet with your reps, you can meet with, and it's a good way to kind of understand the process. And so I'm going to try to be up there depending on my schedule. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what I can do. I've got a pretty busy next week, but I think it's important that, this is something that's kind of informal, but it's now they're going to start laying out, what the session looks like. And so on January 15th, that's when you're going to start seeing, the pending legislation start loading into OLIS. And so that's something that's really important that you guys are aware of kind of what this looks like. And, obviously there's going to be some stuff that's going to be hush hush. And so we'll have to understand, what bills are going to be a placeholder, what's the actual bill. There some of the stuff is going to be what's called a placeholder. So basically, that's going to just have the text there. It's going to be probably in relation to firearms. That's probably some of the text that they'll use. And so, with that being said, that's kind of dangerous because we don't know what they're going to put into. But what they're going to do is it's going to get assigned a bill number. It could be on the Senate side or the House side, and that's where they're going to assign the actual bill number. And if it's a placeholder, it's just going to be what they'll do is as they get everything and know as everything gets closer to the session, they'll start kind of plug and playing different ideas and putting them into those placeholders, and we're going to be off to the races at that point. And so I think it's really really important is you just to understand, this is a process. We have about 35 days for the short session, so it's going to start on February 2nd and it's going to wrap up about March 8th approximately. These are all, there are caveats, but this is the initial, the way it's supposed to work. There's always things that kind of jam things up. And so just something for you to be aware of. And so, things that we're going to be, need to be watching is we're going to need to be watching anything on the judiciary. If it's judiciary, it's typically dealing with laws. And so these are committees that I'm going to be watching is Judiciary Committee, also Ways and Means. Okay, so that's something that's going to be related to the budget. And so some of these gun bills are going to have a fiscal impact, so they're going to have to go in front of both committees. So if you're kind of just watching ahead of time, that's something you should be kind of looking out for. Is you can be checking these different committees because they're going to be a committee assignment there, and so that's a good way for you to kind of stay in front of this stuff. Once I have more information, obviously I'm still trying to figure out this tech, and so I'm hoping it's working so you guys can kind of see, you guys can hear what I'm saying. This is something that I'm doing something new here. And so that's where I just want to make sure that, this information is getting out. And so we're talking about the way this process works. I think your best bet is, once we identify the bills, they're going to be placeholders. There's going to be ones that are actual bills. They're gonna, I believe, in a short session, they're allowed each senator or representative is allowed to introduce two bills. Okay, so they've already know which bills they're going to be introducing, and so with that being said, there's two bills that they can introduce. So those will go directly into OLS. Once we identify which anti-gun bills we're going to be fighting this year, I think it's really important is what we're going to do is we're going to, make sure that you go to that actual bill. Okay, you read it. Also up in the corner, I can do a little video if you guys need that. Is It's a way for you to sign up for the email alerts. Okay, I really recommend the email alerts because every time this bill is going to change any kind of status, like if it goes to the next committee or if it gets scheduled for a public hearing or if it gets scheduled for any kind of testimony, you will get an email alert. Okay, so those are really, really great. That's the first thing that I do. So as soon as I identify anti-gun bills, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bill, I'm going to read the bill, I'm going to go to the up to the top corner, right corner there. I'm going to sign up for the email alerts. Okay. So once I do that, it'll send me an email saying that I was opted into this, which is great. So now I just set it and forget it. Okay. So now it helps free up my time where I can spend more time kind of monitoring everything. What I'm trying to do is just keep everything in front of me, and that way something doesn't sneak forward and something that I'm not aware of. And so just something to think about there. And so this is really kind of a pivotal time because everything's going to move extremely fast, and there's going to be it could be 2 to 3 weeks that they're going to have everything kind of into the next step for this thing to actually make it through the process because it is a short session. And so just something you're aware of. And so, I'm watching. I hope you guys are watching as well. I hope I get this technology figured out because I want to get more people involved with this stuff and help, keep you guys in the loop. And I think it's really, really important is we built something in the last couple of years where we have name recognition up there. We have a good network up there, and we have people that, they're going to take meetings. They are going to open the doors for us. They're going to feed us information. And so we can stay ahead of this stuff. Okay. So the red shirts, they're prepping right now. They're probably going to be up there. You're going to see photo ops from Mom's Man Action every town. They're going to be up there strutting around like peacocks trying to take away your rights. And so we could do the same. We could go up there and we could, talk to our reps, talk to our senators, and we can say, hey, we're paying attention. Some of these guys are up for reelection this time, so it's a really good thing for us is for us to obviously know who our reps are, know who our senators are, know who's up for reelection, and that's where we lean on them and say, hey, you're up for reelection. If you want our vote, this is what we need from you. And so it's something that I really encourage you guys to know who those people are. Maybe send an email, maybe give them a call. I think it's really important is if we're contacting our senators, our representatives, be calm, be cool, be collected, and be respectful. And because most of the time when you're calling up there, you're sending an email, there's going to be a staffer that's going to be reading this email. And so the staffer is kind of, and the way I look at it is the staffer is the gatekeeper. Okay. So the staffer is the person that they're going to control the fate of that email or that phone call. Okay. So if you are very cool, very respectful, there's a great chance that your words are going to go on to your senator or your representative. Okay. So the gatekeeper is definitely those staffers. Typically they're young. They could be still in college, so be very, very, very polite. Okay. Represent your fellow gun owners in a very positive way. That's what I recommend. And so there's a lot to this process, and I want to make sure that obviously on YouTube I'm gonna bring you guys into the fold so you guys kind of know I'm doing this advocacy work up there in the Oregon legislature for probably 10 years now. I've been more active in the past 5 years up there, and we've done some really great things up there. We stopped some legislation. We've made some changes for the good, but our work's not done, and our work's not done, and we also need all of you to be a part of it. And so I just wanted to get on here, do an update, and say this is kind of where we're at. So going forward, the next days that we need to be conscious of and be paying attention to is obviously the legislative days. Those are going to be from January 13th to the 15th. Okay. Those are where the legislature is open to you to come in there to kind of see and meet with people. And then on January 15th, they're going to start dropping these laws and these bills, proposed bills, into OLS. Okay, so that's where it's going to start this process. It's going to start the clock. And then on February 2nd is going to be when the Oregon legislature is going to convene. And so that's where it's really, really important that, we're a part of this process and we're paying attention. It's going to move really, really fast. And they're going to try to jam a whole bunch of things through this in rapid fire succession. And then on March 8th, tentatively, is going to be when the short session is going to be over. So those are the dates we're kind of watching. Obviously, once I know more information, I will keep you guys posted. I'm gonna hopefully get my technology figured out, so I'm kind of more. We can and put something in the comments if there's something that you want to see that's going to help you be better at advocacy work. Let me know in the comments. Like, what I would like to do is get you guys schooled up on. I got to figure out the tech here, on how OLS works and how we navigate OLS and how we do all of these things, and just do a quick, either a refresher for some of the people that know, or a crash course on, how I use the system to my advantage. And so all of that stuff it's public record. It's all they keep track of it and it's monitored, and it's a good way for you to kind of understand this process and what it looks like. And so I don't want to take too much more of your time. I just want to get on here and just do a hi, check in, and just let you know that it's getting ready to kick off, and so we should be ready for that. So when it comes to Measure 114, so I'll leave this in, this is my closing part of it. So there's been a lot of confusion lately as of what's going to happen with Measure 114 when it comes to implementation on the March 15th of 2026 deadline. Okay, right now there's going to be no changes to the status of Measure 114 until we hear from the Oregon State Supreme Court. Okay, so there's nothing's going to be going into effect on March 15th. The only thing that would change that is if we heard back from the Oregon State Supreme Court, but that's unlikely. It's probably going to be close to 9 months to a year before we hear. So we're looking at, maybe September to December ish. Okay. And, don't quote me on that. That's just something that, all of my contexts are telling me. And so we still have time there. It's not going to go into effect. Knock on wood. Hopefully, it never goes into effect. But I see a lot of misinformation out there. I want to make sure you guys understand, what's happening up there and what it looks like. So March 15th, nothing's going to change pending that Oregon State Supreme Court. Other than that, just status quo. Nothing's changed. And so just something to think about there. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. You guys can find me on Facebook. You guys send me a friend request. If you guys have any questions on how to be better advocates and things that we can do, I'm always available. And the goal is to just educate and empower you, empower my neighbors and fellow gun owners to be a part of this. The only way we lose is if we don't check in and we don't be a part of it. And I know it's frustrating. I know the last thing we want to do after working all day is to send emails to our reps and senators, but they need to hear from you. Because if they don't hear from you, they think that it's okay to do what they do, and it's not okay. So, not one more inch, no more compromises. Okay, so we're going to continue to move forward. We're going to move forward together, and we're going to stop this stuff. So, I will I will keep you guys posted, and once I hear more, I'll let you know. And just put something in the comments if there's something that you guys want to learn about. I think now's a good time to learn, and I'll figure out this whole uh, text situation, and we'll kind of go from there. So, other than that, have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.